Hello and welcome. My name is Craig Micallef, and I am so glad to present to you the 2024 ValueCapper Kentucky Derby analysis video. And joining me today for the 150th running of the Run for the Roses are two gentlemen who've been practicing value capping for as long as anyone. That would be Mr. Bob Harris and Professor Sam Meola. Gentlemen, how are you doing?
Hey, Craig, what's going on?
Doing well.
Good.
How about you,
Well,
Sammy?
we miss our leader, but the races go on, and I'm sure he would want us to give a little analysis in his memory, and that's what we're gonna do. So
Absolutely. I mean, this is something I know a lot of wizards have been looking forward to, and a lot of folks, I won't say non-wizards, but folks who have been following Michael's work for many years. And I know I've gotten plenty of emails asking if we're going to continue this tradition. And as you say, Bob, this is just something that I think is a great way to honor Michael's memory, and we will
right,
continue to do this. So, um,
good.
so
I
I
think
have
it's good.
got ValueCapper open here. This is the latest version of ValueCapper. And you can see here, this is the 12th race at Churchill on Saturday, the Kentucky Derby, presented by Woodford Reserve. I think they've changed sponsors every year. I've noticed that. Um, and as you can see here, not much of a surprise at the very top of the line. We have Fierceness, who is the morning line favorite, and ValueCapper has given it the contention line favoritism as well. 6-1 odds may be a bit generous. I don't think we're going to get quite 6-1 on Fierceness, but it is, ValueCapper does consider it the best horse in the race. And as I said, that's not much of a surprise. I don't think we're going to get too much of a price there. One other thing to note, I have removed the scratches. So we did have a scratch for Encino, which meant that number 21 Epic Ride has drawn in from the also eligible list, but I've also scratched the other also eligible Mugatu. So we are looking at the latest as of today. We are recording this on a Thursday afternoon. So obviously if any late changes come in, you know, hopefully not, but the weather forecast for Saturday, there's a 40% chance of rain they're calling for on Saturday. They are calling for a deluge on Friday. So we will see
Wow.
how that affects the track on Saturday. I'm sure they will be working overtime to make it get it in tip-top shape. But we'll have to see. It's always an adventure. Early May weather in the Midwest can be unpredictable. So getting to the race, as I said, we have Fierceness on top, and so fellas, what do you make of that? Does Fierceness on top make sense to you?
Yeah, it does to me. Can you bring up his past performances?
Sure thing.
So something that Sam and I talk about a lot. We don't talk about it really in the forum because of the potential to confuse people, but we tend to project the target instead of just accepting what we see on the screen. Sometimes on the screen is perfect, but we still like to take a look at the general field and get a little bit better feel for what could actually happen. Um, Most of the changes come in races with younger horses, like this particular race. Now, ValueCapper, by the letter of the law, has taken the 156.4 and used that as the target for stronghold. Um, as you can see, Fierceness as a 2-year-old ran a 160 easily, ran a 162.7 easily. Didn't have to run any faster than a 156 to really easily put away everybody in the Florida Derby. So I used Fierceness as my target, and I used a 162 as the number I was going to evaluate the other horses around. That's just my comfort level. Everybody else can, you know, do what they are comfortable with. But what did you think, Sam? Did you just go with the 156 on Stronghold, or did you bump it up a bit?
I left it alone. I figured I feel like I need to change the target when it's needed, and here I felt 156 was very conservative, so I just went with it.
Okay.
I did notice, as you pointed out, that the 162 and the 160 lines were as 2-year-olds. So I went ahead just to see what would happen if I just kind of removed the 160, and I excluded the 160 momentarily, and he he drops a second and removes the as a tag designation. So then I'll reset the race. I like to play what if the scenarios, and so in this case, fierceness is a tag here, but I'm not so sure it's a legitimate tag. I know he's a strong contender in the race, and that's as far as I'll go with a 5-2 morning line.
Right.
That's a great point. I mean, fierceness is 3 for 5. His 2 losses were at both odds on. So something just to keep in mind, that when I was looking at the race, it's obviously the fierceness has the ability. Question is he going to fire on Saturday? And
Sure.
The shorter the price, less inclined I am to take that bet. So we'll see as well.
Agreed.
So what I ended up doing, and it's a cluster right now. I'm going to have to definitely do some board shopping, even to make some exacta bets. But in my head, with that 162 as the target, I start kind of going horse by horse. I certainly didn't use ValueCapper as you conventionally would use it. I went horse by horse and was kind of thinking in my mind, what would be the range if some of these horses, being young horses, improved a little, as they are known to do? And what if fierceness has some traffic issues? There will be other horses gunning for the lead, so I'm not sure he's going to necessarily try to go wire to wire. He might sit second or third. But what could happen if fierceness, due to traffic or just the randomness of racing, regresses a couple of points? So I kind of went line by line with each horse, and we're looking at horses that I felt comfortable could run a 158 or better, and then just made notes about them. There were a handful that maybe were just too far back early, and I thought, I'll use these for exotics, but I don't really consider them a win contender. I made notes on maybe, I don't know, 8 or 9 horses. There were that many. And I hit the follow me button. So by the time this is posted, you guys can go and see those if it interests you at all. But come race day, there's so much money in the pools that the odds should kind of settle fairly early, and by 10 minutes to post, I'll have an idea of what I'll be betting, and I'll definitely write that down in the Wizards forum so people can see what my final thoughts are in the race. But yeah, you can see right now there's just a mess. There's 4 or 5 horses maybe that I've just written exotics only, but there's 3 or 4 others if the price was right. And when I say price is right in this race, if I'm going to beat fierceness, I'm probably looking at 15-1 or more. But there might be a couple of the horses I wrote down as the contenders that it might get 15-1. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, Bobby, when you say exotics, are these horses you're considering just underneath in the exotics, or
Yeah, just underneath in exactas. I don't really consider them a win contender. Even Honor Me and Sam's note there, bomb closer. Absolutely, he's gonna need a lot of help. I'm not sure I would take him as a win contender, but if the price gets up there high enough, sure, why not? But I expect him to be running late, and we'll see if some lanes open up that he can get through.
Yeah, I don't know if it's relevant, but it definitely aided in my decision on this race. Certainly, it's a recreational race for me, being the top 3 morning line favorites or the top 3 on the line. However, when I went to the track profile in the the last two derbies, the winner came from 9 lengths back at the second call and 12 lengths back at the second call. And I'm thinking, well, maybe that trend can continue one more time, and decided to, travel down the line a bit and use this 7 horse as one of my win bets.
Yeah, I did notice
You
that
have,
seven, was reversing number 4, Catching Freedom, who won the Louisiana Derby, who also came from far back. But I also saw that as well, that the 7 is reversing, lost by just a length, the Catching Freedom, and I think we're obviously going to get a much bigger price on the 7 than we will the 4. So something to keep
Agreed.
in
That
mind.
was my decision. I thought of the top 3 Catching Freedom, I was the most interested in. However, I'm probably expecting a price of maybe 7, 8 to 1 on the 4 horse, and not quite what I would want for a win contender. So I'm on a price with 20 horses. So I'll certainly use the 4 in my exacted plays.
Can you bring up the past performances on Honor Marie again, Craig?
Same.
There we go. These horses are the absolute best horses when it comes to the post-race video, if they can actually get up. As you can see, Honor Marie is 10 out of 11, 11 out of 12, 8 out of 8, 8 out of 9, 9 out of 9. This horse theoretically could be 19th at the first call. And I love those videos where they show them just kind of weaving through the traffic, and they're not really in the picture, and then all of a sudden the announcer's screaming for them in the final 1/8 of a mile. So we'll see what happens. Wait, do you have a price, Sammy, that you would consider Honor Marie? Do you have that in your head yet or not?
For recreational play in a race like this, I probably would take just a few points above my odds line. I don't think it's a race where I want to get real strict with the VCP, because then I pretty much probably might not have a bet at all.
Oh yeah.
So I traveled down the line and narrowed in on the 18 and the 7 for my win bets.
Okay.
Something on the 7, 20 to 1, 16, 18. I'd take 18, 20 to 1. If they open the odds and this horse is 12 to 1, I'm certainly I'll certainly consider not playing him to win.
Okay. Well, we're on the same page, I think. Win contenders in this race, kind of 15 to 1-ish, somewhere in that ballpark, I think is fair. But I don't even know what to do with the Japanese horses. Someone in the forum. What's that?
I didn't spend any time on them at all. They always seem to be also rans.
Do they? I don't pay much attention. I just maybe because I just got back from Japan, but they're so pride oriented, and I just can't. It's expensive, but B, I just can't see them sending over a complete dog to be embarrassed. Maybe I'm thinking too much into the situation, which I tend to do, but if I end up using if I get some good prices on the horses that I made notes as win contenders, I'm definitely going to have a couple bucks on these in the second hole. I'm not necessarily willing to put them on top, but I don't know.
Yeah. So
You don't think too much of them, Sam?
Who the Japanese horse? I can't rate them. I don't know how to get a handle on them. I know from recent years there's always one invited every year, and they never seem to do anything in the race. And to me, they're first time starters. I really, this isn't for me with 20 horses. It's a quack. It's just a mess. I don't want to take the time to analyze every horse, beat it to death. I'd rather spend time elsewhere. So I traveled down a bit on the line, and I know enough about the top 3 that we talked about earlier. So I went down to the next tier, which was the 18, the 3, the 7, down in that middle range on the arc. And if something below that wins, such as Rich Strike, then so be it.
So if you are a Rod Stewart fan, you might have some money on the 11, but other than that, I have no insight into these Japanese
There you
horses.
go.
Wherever you
Yep.
go.
Um,
All right. So have we beaten this race to death?
Yeah, my other win bet is the 18 horse. I liked a few things what I saw. He's second off the left, Santa Anita Derby winner. He's certainly the numbers are fine. He's a target in the race. And to be honest, those workouts, one for 64, one for 70. This horse is working well and could be razor sharp at a gigantic price. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I really don't know what kind of price to expect on horses like the 7 and the 18, but that's where that's where I landed.
I agree with you on that one, Sammy. Again, when I see them putting up a 159, 158.6 as a 2-year-old, I know they can improve on that. When they aren't running particularly fast and they're still winning the race, I could just kind of dismiss it. They ran as fast as they needed to run to win that particular race. But if I see a 158.6 as a 2-year-old, I see no reason why he can't run, 160, 161 or more. And then he's right there with Fierceness if Fierceness has any issues at all. So,
Exactly.
and the hard after layoff with these horses is really kind of a non-issue. They're stakes horses. In fact, if you look at this horse, every time he races, he's kind of hard after a layoff, and then he comes back and wins. So
That's right.
it's really a non-issue in this particular field. So
Yeah, I agree. That's how I felt.
all right.
all right, that sounds great.
So
Yeah, and I'm with you guys. I'll probably just watch the board myself here and just to see. I do like the 7 a little bit, and just seeing where some of these horses are going to go off at. I think there's going to be one or two that are going to be bet more than we anticipate. It just seems like that every year there's a hot horse that comes in, and that might just dictate what I do or what I don't do. So, so with that, can we move on to the next
sure.
race? So, Michael always preached this. This is something he spoke at length about, was that Derby Day wasn't always necessarily about the Derby itself. The best bets were typically not the Derby, it was the undercard. So, and I know you guys have already checkmarked a few races using the Follow Me feature here in ValueCapper. And so I'm going to go through now, and we'll just go through and look at some of these races. And we'll continue on the Churchill card. We'll stick with that. And we'll go to the 6th at Churchill. This is the Derby City Distaff. And let's look at the follow me notes here. So both of you have this marked. So you both have the 8. So who wants to dive into this?
I think, as I remember, this was the reversal race to the morning line favorite and to the second morning line favorite. Certainly looks like it has the potential to set up for a closer on paper. Sammy mentions the horse has got some other goodies going on. I think anything in the 9-10 to 1 range is certainly fair. You got counter early, you got the L for the late fraction in the last 2. I always get a little nervous when I see highly pressured. It's not my favorite type of race to bet into. A lot of these guys on the forum seem to be almost specialists with the highly pressured races and do very, very well, but they make me nervous. I don't know.
They always have for you, Bob.
What's the acupressure on this? Because Sam and I have talked about this before. If we don't see 3 or 4 need to lead horses, and there's none here, see, that makes us nervous. does sterling silver have any kind of tactical speed at all? And the past performances. Yeah, not too bad. It can press a little bit from fourth, so that's better, you know.
Yeah,
He's got
not coming from another zip code, and he's typically mid-pack every race. I'm fine with that, and
he's got what three wins there. It looks like from fourth. Oh, one of them was 4 out of 4, so it's kind of irrelevant. But yeah, he can win from pressing a little bit. So we don't necessarily need to have a breakneck pace on this particular race. See what happens.
It's a 7 furlong race, so I know
Yeah, that's another.
sometimes that goes a bit late as well, and seems a bit of
Right.
a specialist as well going here 4 for
this is
9.
a nice bread and butter type, kind of clear, simple, and obvious to me. You open up the race, you look at the top summary, the 8's all over the place. He's got all kinds of goodies across the way. You got anti-value above him, anti-value below him. It's a manageable arc 5. So all that being said, and the dual heavy pressure, if you get your price, I'm in. You know, the analysis is that quick.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, your point on the 7 furlongs, Craig, just with all the years that I've sat next to Michael, he almost would always check it. Like if it was an unpressured 7 furlong race, he would almost always check the late sort just to make sure that horse was still in the arc, because it's tough to win these races without some semblance of closing abilities, or at least the third fraction ability, not to completely fall off the ledge. So yeah, I thought that was a good possibility there.
Okay. And so I think Bob, you put 9 to 1. Sam, do you have any first instincts on a price you're looking for?
It's VCP's fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
9 to 1. Okay. Yeah, and with a contention of 20 to 1, more line of 15 to 1, we might get it. So
right.
depending on scratches. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that one. Next is the 7th race. So,
Okay, this one there was a bit ago where I made these notes, but I think the counter early, and I see a couple of 101s there late fraction wise on the horse. So kind of surrounded by some anti-value horses. Again, if I can get a decent price with 6 to 1 odds on ValueCapper, even something around 10 would be fine for me. I don't necessarily need VCP on that. It's a big arc. I don't necessarily like big arc races, but when I glanced at it, and I'm like, yeah, the horse is running well, and he certainly has the late fractions to deal with this race. So I didn't see any world beaters. The 11's got some inflated odds. I don't know, we can take a look at it. Okay, so that's a horse we just don't know anything about. So,
right.
you're gonna take a chance on a layoff horse shipping from Great Britain. I'll try and beat that. So that's about all I got on that race.
Okay. So we've already done the Derby. So let's move on to Gulfstream 9. So Sammy, you got this one marked. 6.
Yeah, I opened this race and right away I just noticed the 6, sandwiched between 2 short horses. They both have anti-value above and below. I love that. Real quick target work before looked fine. Turf route 167. Click on the 6. He certainly can do that. In 2023, this horse was a solid, consistent runner, picking up lots of checks at the $10,000 level. And for whatever reason, he's running against a higher class and kind of not doing so well. So certainly I'm going to get my price. and his numbers fit here, why not?
We see the 4 and the 3. I don't remember this race. Yeah, that's definitely a giving up on the horse drop there. And then the 3 horse, Craig. Yeah, I mean that's a good find, Sammy. I just passed by this race. I get that looks like some legitimate anti-value. The 5 horse, let's see what that layoff situation looks like. He's got the 1 win off the layoff, so I wouldn't be surprised if he ran well. But no, that's a good bet, I think.
And
That will
VCP
be
is
a
6 to
horse to
1.
keep an eye on.
Is
What's
that
that?
VCP is 6 to 1? Is that in line with
Oh,
your thinking, Sammy?
I'd be more comfortable with 8 to 10.
Okay.
6 to 1. That really would be my bottom.
Okay.
And Sam, just like when we're on the topic here, we see some posts once in a while about losing streaks, and some people have some really elongated ones, and Sam and I have talked about it, and like I'm not sure what they're doing. What I just did, and I'm sure what Sam did when he was going through this race, if you're just going to look at this race, 6 blue VIP plus, single pattern in the yard, 5x5, done. You have got to look at the competition that's in the arc at least, and see just what you're up against, because sometimes the anti-value makes sense, sometimes it is a little more questionable. You just can't ignore the other horses in the arc. If you do, then don't be surprised if you have some long runouts. That's just my opinion on it. It's something I always do. I never don't look at the rest of the competition before I decide if I'm going to bet a race or not.
So maybe trust but verify what the
Exactly.
program is
Yes,
doing.
Always
Mr.
good
Reagan.
advice.
Yeah.
Always good advice. Trust and verify, and the more uncomfortable you are, the bigger the price you need, or just pass the race. I've never experienced, a 60 race losing streak. I'd probably give up the game if that happened to me. But the only thing that comes to mind there is FOMO. If you're hitting 60 race losing streaks, there's something you're doing, you're either not doing, or something you're not doing in the process.
Right.
The number one factor in determining losing streaks is the odds of the horses you're betting. This is something I've learned the hard way myself.
Sure.
If the average odds of the horses you're betting are 15, 20 to 1, you're going to have long losing streaks. It's just a mathematical certainty.
Sure.
They could be good horse, and they could be, in theory, overlays. They could be profitable. But the problem is, if you're betting in that high an odds range, you're going to have to bet tens of, if not hundreds of thousands of races in order for that math to work in your favor. And that's just not humanly possible, at least in my opinion. Now, there's some people probably can endure the pain, but that is probably the first thing I would look at if you're having those kinds of losing streaks, is just what are the odds of the horses you're betting.
That's great advice.
So,
I remember Michael doing a whole presentation on that on ValueCapping Academy. A good chunk of your bet should be in the 5 to 1 to like 12 to 1 range.
right.
Yeah, that's why
Yep.
win percentage is kind of meaningless unless you're taking subsets and comparing them to the odds in that subset. You may have a really nice win percentage if everything you bet was between 7 to 2 and 5 to 1. But take that to a subset with much longer price horses, it's not going to look as good, and you may have even an even better ROI in that subset. And that's what we're here for in the first place. You can't start worrying about these little minutia things that everybody wants to look at, like win percentage. And the process that we just did with this race, Gulfstream 9, by looking at the competition, this is, for me anyways, is what makes a bet make me or not make me. If I go through those other horses and all of a sudden I'm thinking, that's a tough horse. It doesn't really matter that it's a blue VIP plus. To me, I'm a little more conservative than others. Others would say, screw it, it's in the arc. If I can get 10-1 on the horse, I'm going for it. But that attitude, and I'm not saying it's the wrong attitude, but that attitude will get you some longer losing streaks. So just my 2 cents on this situation.
Also, playing in advance has its pros and cons, but if you want less losing streaks, it's always better to have the board in front of you before you make any bet.
Sammy, thank you for that. That is exactly why I bet the way I do, because if my mantra has always been, for the longest time, with Michael beating it into my head, our overlays should not be unexpected. Now,
right.
The contention in the morning line help with that, but if I see a horse that's drawing money, I sometimes will completely tap out of the race, because I don't know, say for example, it's not the best example of this race, but say the 5 was higher up on the line, and it was still with this contention 4-1 and 3-1, and I see it up there at 5 or 6-1, and some other horse not even in the arc is drawing a lot of, can't figure out why. Sometimes it's a connection thing, or a big class drop that the program didn't pick up or something, but other times I've got no idea. And if the price is long enough and you are getting compensated for that unknown, fine. But if it's just borderline right at VCP, I'll completely tap out of the race. So that's why I just am much more comfortable watching the money come in before I make final decisions, because then I can treat that horse that's drawing money as another contender, and I can look at him and I'm like, okay, what's going on here? I don't think you can ever just ignore what the public is doing. It would be a big mistake. But yeah, thank you for that, Sam, because I forget to bring that up with people as to why I do what I do. It's just my personal comfort zone.
And for those who are unfamiliar with your style, Bob, how many minutes to post do you typically begin looking at a race?
Well, I never look at them at all. I don't even open the race until I see the horses are on the track. So Sam and I sometimes will be in contact with each other during a race day, and he'll say, I've got 5 or 6 races, and he's gone through them the night before. He has a few guys that he coaches, and they discuss races in advance. He's extremely good at it. I personally suck at looking at races in advance. It almost paralyzes me, because I look at it and I just start seeing so many different possibilities. When I for example, if I'm debating about a line on a horse, whether I'm going to use this last ugly line and stick him with that, or a line further back, the money coming in will determine that. If it's, getting bet below VCP or in that range, it's not worth accepting the lines that are way back. So I'm not explaining it really well, but it's kind of a process that happens with horses that I'm not sure of. If Michael used to have a phrase like, or a teaching that, what will the horse do based on its last line? At 2-1, he's going to break all four legs and be vanned off the, you know, the track. At 10-1, that third line back is the way he's going to run today. And it's almost the way you have to kind of put your mindset. But
Yeah. Truth is in who's paying, as he used to like to
That's
say.
right.
yes,
Yeah, think like a lawyer is what he used to say.
Yep. And it's great. It's not just great advice in horse racing, it's great in a lot of other areas of life too. So if you're ever uncertain, just
Yeah.
as they say, follow the money. I mean, truth
It's true.
is in the,
It
where the
gets
money
you
is.
out, it gets you out of that predictive mindset.
Yep.
Which can be very dangerous.
Okay, so let's move on to Oaklawn. And let's see. Sammy, check this. I don't see any notes, but what do we have
Oh,
here?
oh, my bad. I guess the nine horse here. I'll fix that here. Again, a race I didn't spend much time on. I opened the race, saw the 9 across the top, did some quick target work. Certainly can run with target. This one's freshened up. I totally dismiss. I actually kind of makes me a little tingly when I see horses in their last line when they run an ugly race at the wrong distance or at the wrong surface or at the wrong class. In this case, turf route then gets laid off. I just pretend that line isn't there. And when you do that, like the software did, this horse looks pretty solid. Reason I don't have a note on this horse, though I marked it, is I didn't know what to expect on price or what I would want for price. So I left it at that. I was pressed for time when I was doing the work. So
Got it. I do see a Steve Asmussen as the trainer that might impact the price a bit. So we'll see.
this is a type of horse or race where I must see the board. I'm not playing this horse in advance. I'll see the board and go from there.
Right.
Yeah.
There is a 7-5 shot here in this race on the morning line. So it's a dropper. Norm Cassie. So yeah, there's a shot. I think you got a shot at getting a price there on the 9.
and on that Snow King horse, that bottom race, this is where ValueCapper does such a great job. It really sees through that ugly looking line. The horse gets a 151-1 still as a 2-year-old. So you can expect improvement. But the horse chased a 21-4, 44-4 and gets credit for it with ValueCapper. Most software that you see on the market doesn't do that necessarily. So that's why I love the program so much. That in itself, even if that second race back wasn't the way it was, Sammy's points are valid. That last race is definitely meaningless. The horse is coming off a layoff. What did it do the last time it was off a layoff? Well, 151-1. Is that competitive in this field? Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
And this is a type of horse where it's like, I know it's controversial, and guys, we've had off-camera discussions about this, and I've had some heated discussions about this with Michael. All friendly, of course, but do I always accept the VCP at the VCP or above the VCP? Me personally, no. Is it a fantastic tool? And it held us up? Michael was so passionate when he developed the VCP. When we were in beta for 5 years, and I want to say maybe 3 of those 5 years he was doing almost nothing but working on the VCP. But for me personally, I think there's just certain situations where I am comfortable deviating from it.
And of course, you have the experience. You've been doing this for a long time, so you obviously have the feel for when to override and when not to.
Definitely
I think newer players, you come in along, I think it would be the best advice is to stick with the VCP until you've got,
I couldn't
the
agree more.
experience. So
I
Yeah.
couldn't agree more.
Because the main purpose for VCP was to keep people from betting so many races, which is the biggest problem. Sam doesn't have that problem of betting too many races, so he's flexible on his odds, which would be should be the goal for anybody at some point in your play. But until you're a profitable player, VCP would be the way to go. Were there we don't need to beat this to death. Sometimes these races, when I click through them, I see a lot of second time starters. And me personally, that one's not me personally. A second time starter is the same as a first time starter, but it looks like these guys are all pretty well raced. Yeah, that's fine.
one first
You
term, one
one,
second. Yeah.
okay, so there's kind of in my mind, I would have like two unknowns in this. Problem with first times or horses that have raced once, if they raced really well, you don't get any credit for it on the odds board, and if they raced poorly, doesn't mean a whole lot because they'll completely flip that second time out. So it's a little area of caution for me. I do scroll through and see, okay, I don't see the little warning of 3 or more that would make this a red race, but if I start seeing 3, 4, 5 horses that are coming to their second race, that's still a pretty crazy race for me personally to get involved in. All right, what else we got here?
So Oaklawn fifth.
This one's highly speculative. I did mark it. This is a sprinter stretching out with some big back numbers. They are older numbers, and recent numbers are not quite up to par with what the software decided to use. So there's definitely some hesitation here. Certainly at a mid price or lower. Just one of those races where a horse is stretching out, and sometimes a stretch out like this can mean all the difference.
He's a target horse too.
Yeah. It is a bit of it is, I must admit, a concern where the program went deep and takes the 160-ish numbers, and nothing recent is near that. It certainly is a concern. So if I'm open again, another race I'm not playing in advance, and if the race comes up and this horse opens up at 7, 8 to 1, I'm no longer interested.
Can we see the past performances on the 10, Craig? Okay, so okay, it's not a world beater. Got that 159.6, but that's an asterisk 7 furlong race, Keelan. So yeah, I don't see a problem with Sammy's horse at all with the prices there. Certainly got a good possibility to stretch out.
Oaklawn 11. Number 4.
This was when I opened this race, when I see big arcs and then I see that gap, I love minding gaps. So we take a arc 7 into an arc 5, arc 8. So we're minding gaps. We're down to an arc 4. And I have this 20 to 1 shot morning line kind of popping out at me. So I do some quick target work. I always confirm every target before I bet any race. whether it's in advance or live. So we have, I like to keep apples to apples whenever possible. We have a dirt route, 155, number makes sense. His target is hard. I'm done with my target work. Can the 4 run target? He did it second race back. Again, another sprinting stretching out. These are high risk, high rewards. It's that simple. Expect to lose a lot of these, but when they pop, they pay great. Like any other value bomb.
We see acupressure on this race, Craig. Wow. Well, certainly no excuse if you can open up that kind of a lead. So
How far he can go. Let's see how far he can go. Is he gonna have anything left at the top of the lane?
yeah, yeah.
There's no need to lead, a bunch of closers, and he might be out there winging it. So,
Yeah. Very good, fine.
But these 2 stretch out ones that just happen to, I don't go looking for stretch out horses, but a lot of times the software picks them up and they can be really good bets sometimes. But just know you're gonna, like anything else, high risk, high reward. You have to, it's good advice to stay out of the predictive game. And know, yeah, there's a good chance this horse is gonna be competitive, and he might only be competitive for half the race. Well, I'm willing to take that chance at 15 to 1.
Can I see the 7, Craig? Okay. Yeah, that's a little bit too deep of a closer for my blood in an unpressured race. It would have to be really big price. I saw the 8 to 1 contention and the 11 to 1 VCP. Like maybe it'll creep up there a bit, but it would have to be probably pushing 15 for me to get involved. But okay, great. Yeah, love that bet, Sam.
hey, Tampa second. Hey, Bob.
Oh, this one's mine. Okay. Last race meaningless. Horse belongs at this level. Okay, it's 7 to 1. Okay.
Wow. Lost its last
Yeah.
race by 58 lengths.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Well, yeah, obviously, I don't know what happened. I mean, there's some bumping going on, a couple bumping at the start, bumping at 5/8. I'm not sure the horse belongs at that level anyways. He's been competitive recently at the 62.5, non-winners of 3, and then open he was third out of 6. This is the level that the horse belongs in. Whether he'll run back to those 164s, who knows? But even the 160.7, the 161.6 certainly puts it in shouting distance of the target. So I'll take 6 to 1 on that horse, especially with the layoff on the horse above me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a horse I would consider very strong against our target. Now, if you click on the 9 to evaluate the target, it is a mile race and a 6 furlong race. So immediately my brain wants to go ahead and find a new target. However, the horse I'm interested in can already run the inflated target, so I don't need to go and waste time doing that work.
Right.
So 161 is my target. It's probably it's an inflated target in my mind because of the distance structure potentially. But since the 3 can run the 161 or beat the 161, I'm done.
Can we see acupressure on this, Craig? Okay. Well, you got 3 horses at the first call that can
I'll just say Tampa is such an early track.
is it? So maybe look at neutral and see. I've been switching computers since I've been traveling because some laptops travel better than others, and I'm not sure my track profiles up to date. We could just go to
Mhm.
neutral and see.
Beaten length of the second call track profile is 1.5 or less at the second call.
Okay,
Um,
so
but
going
this
to
will,
neutral doesn't hurt it any, just,
but this street certainly, can stay in striking range.
yeah.
And certainly did it in his win, both his wins.
All right, well, I'll keep an eye on the board in that, particular race and see what happens, but, yeah, looks okay to me.
I agree.
And finally, Turf Paradise. Race 4. Bob's got the 7.
Oh, another one of mine, okay, let's see here, 159.7. Yeah, can certainly run the target without a problem. Um, that's it's a little bit. I hummed and hawed about this particular race a little bit, and maybe 6-1 isn't going to be fair. Um, I'm not sure where this horse belongs anymore. Used to be a much better horse, as you can see there in 2022, and since coming back, they seem to be trying to find the level. Not competitive really at 8,500 yet, so they're making a drop. The last race doesn't concern me too much with all the trouble, so they're kind of dropping off of that 8,500 non-winners at 2. Might not get a price. Did I put 6-1 on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so with 5-1 odds, I would need more than that. I don't know what I was thinking. Sorry, I'm still on Japanese time, but yeah, maybe 7-1 or so. I'll correct that in my notes. But and if we could see the 5, a long layoff and a drop.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
double.
who knows what that horse is going to do. Actually, I'm gonna adjust this to 8-1 now. My apologies, Wizards. I was trying to find some races this morning to talk about, and that one's a little dicier than at second appearance than I originally thought. So I'll adjust that.
What would be your most major concern, Bob? Was
Um,
dicey.
just the strength of the odds line. 5-1. Even if you were going to do the old Barry Meadow of 1.5 times, you're at 7.5. So with the little diciness on the 7, trying to find the range in that last race, what does the 3 look like? It's got another big drop. Tell you what, I'm tapping out of this race. I'm taking this. I
Really?
see this. Yeah, I'm tapping out. I got a feeling as soon as I saw the money come in, I see. I didn't even notice the morning line favorite was down there in the arc. As soon as I start seeing money 154, that's way off the. It it I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm gonna put 8-1, but it's gonna scare me. It better be a firm 8-1. If it's bouncing around between 6, 7, 8, I'm tapping out. All right. And if it wins by 5 lengths, you can all laugh at me.
Well, we can do that anyway. So
Yeah, you can
I've
do that
marked
anyway.
worse. I will say this, I've marked worse. I think price is an issue, but I do like the drop. It shows major intent. The numbers are very solid. You don't
Yeah.
even have to go deep to the 2022 pace lines to make this horse competitive. You could stay recent and make it competitive with the target and with others in the field. The double negative above is nice. My biggest concern, I don't think it's that bad of a find. My biggest concern will be price.
Yeah.
You get
At
double
second
digits.
thought, yeah, the 6-1 on a 5-1 odds with
Yeah, I agree.
with my questions already that I'm talking about, 8-1 would be better, and
I agree.
we'll see how it plays out. I'll leave it up there. Maybe some other people will. I'll change the odds to 8-1, and anybody else who's doing the follow me, they can at least look at the race and evaluate it on their own and make their own decisions. So, well, that's a few races to look
Yeah.
at Saturday, huh?
Yeah, that's
I
9
mean,
races.
I'm sure there'll be plenty more as the betting comes in, because I'm sure Sam has the same situation, and you too, Craig. When you see these races that are maybe 8-1 to contention and 10-1 morning line and VCP's 12. All right, I'm not necessarily going to put that down as a follow me, because you kind of have to, bet those in advance a little bit. But, um, would anybody be surprised if you got 12-1 on a horse that had that kind of a line? I wouldn't. So yeah, a lot of times the bets for me anyways start developing 4 minutes to pose, 3 minutes to pose, that type of thing.
We have very, very different styles. I did find Woodbine 4. I think that was the final race that I had found. Craig, if you want to put that up, it's up to you.
I didn't even download it. It wasn't final when I last downloaded this, so
Oh,
we're doing this in real time. Some tracks are very late to getting their
Mhm.
final.
Yeah, I think when I downloaded Golden Gate and Laurel still didn't have finals. So.
Yeah, California is usually the last 48 hours or so before post time, before you get the final odds or the final card. Okay, so we're looking at the 3. Seeing a lot of anti-value around it.
yeah. Here's one again, found pretty quickly. It's no surprise. I like VIPs, obviously, and I like horses that show up multiple times at the top. Not a rule, but I like it. This one happens to be the Fulcrum. He's the only horse in the arc that doesn't show anti-value. Numbers are certainly fine with regard to the field and target.
Yeah, I remember this race, Sam, going through it. Is that a line that you're comfortable betting in advance? 5, 10, 6
Certainly
with a
not.
VCP?
Certainly not.
Okay, so that's a good example of what I was just expressing. This could be a bet for me that will develop, 4 minutes to post. Like, yeah, sure. Looks great on paper. It's just a matter of if you're going to get your price or not.
And you're going to find that mostly those mid-price horses, that's how it's going to play out. And, especially that 5, 6, 7-1 morning line kind of area. And then the VCP, and you don't know how they're going to go crowd wise, but let the board decide.
No, that's a good bet. Good possibility, anyways.
Okay. Well, I think we've got 10 races to look at on Saturday. One of those being the Derby, and I think there's a lot of great opportunity here. And gentlemen, I want to thank you for spending it's been the last hour. It's hard to believe, but we went through 10 races in an hour, and I think we found some good potential bets. And I want to thank you for stepping up to the plate and doing this with me. And I want to thank you, the Wizards, who are watching this. And if you watch the entire hour, I'm sure there's at least a few people left who are watching this. And I want to thank you as well. And I just want to say, as Michael would always close out these videos, let the bet make you. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.